is she?
She is you, she is me.
Wait, I want to be she.
Listen, you
can I be she?
You she, girl. I feel like my purpose in life is to like inspire people in and through God's love. It's all about knowing the time and seasons for things, but does not mean that you cannot grow in all aspects of them.
And I think God actually said, like, nah,
Hold
it was never about the checklist.
Right.
It was never about the pride and the ego.
Journey.
It was about really taking me back and saying, this is what I'm pruning you through so that you can really blossom into this.
Exactly.
And this is what becoming really means. You can't skip steps. Like, you have to go through this in order to be prepared for
you can't
that.
Ask it, but the beauty's in the journey.
The journey of becoming.
The journey of becoming. First of all, girl, you scared me with that pivot. My heart was like beating.
I'm like, what are we gonna talk about?
What are we talking about?
Yeah. I was.
I always say, if I exist, my husband exists.
I know God is not scraping the bottom of a pan for my man. Welcome to the Empowered Era podcast, brought to you by the Elizabethan Era. I'm your host, Elizabeth Osandu, also known as Lizzie, and today I have none other than Oluchi Madubuike. How are you doing, girl?
I'm great, girl. How are you? It's so good to be here.
I'm so happy to see you.
I know. I'm just so happy to be here. You look beautiful. I look beautiful. Oh my God.
No, this is a moment. This is a moment because we know what it takes to get to these moments.
Right.
So we will continue to embrace these moments.
Yeah,
if you guys do not know who Oluchi is, let me tell you just a little bit of background on her. She is the most beautiful girl in Nigeria, 2021, also known as Miss World Nigeria 2021. Not only is she into pageantry, but she is a woman of God. Not only is she a woman of God, but she is a nurse.
Wow.
So let's just dive into how did you get into pageantry?
Oh, wow. That was...
The girlies want to know.
The girlies want to know. Pageantry for me has been a very long journey, honestly. I did my first pageant when I was 16.
Okay.
And just to cut the story short, I lost my dad a couple months before that. And we had always kind of shared an interest in pageantry and feminine things and modeling and stuff. So it was definitely an ode to him in some sense, because a talent portion, I ended up doing public speaking as my talent, and I talked about something that my dad had always taught me, and so it was a very precious moment. And then moving forward into the rest of pageantry, he passed away from leukemia, so that kind of became my champion cause, and so it was just something I would go around spreading awareness for. And so I definitely feel like it was just a space of I've always loved beauty, always loved fashion, but then this is also something me and Dad shared because we actually watched Miss World together when Agbani won. And
really?
I remember telling him I wanted to do that. He was my biggest fan, so he told me
he supported it through and through.
100%.
He wasn't opposed in any way.
Yes.
I love that.
So it was so amazing, literally 20 years later, getting to represent at the same pageant.
Yeah.
I mean, full circle moment. So
I know he's definitely proud of you.
We thank God.
We definitely do thank God. Wow, that is beautiful. And I'm sure that hits home for you.
100%.
So what would you say brought out the idea in you, or the spirit, the heart to go towards nursing?
I feel like this is going to sound like a broken record when I put my dad into everything, but he has genuinely been a huge impact. And I always say my dad is one of my biggest inspirations in life and in death, because a lot of the woman that I am today and just a lot of things I do have just been structured around that. So, I think we kind of shared this vision of going to medical school, all that stuff. So when I was younger, I always knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field. I knew I wanted to be a doctor at the time.
Yeah, doctor, lawyer, engineer.
You know how
those are the options.
You have no other options. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so right about when my dad passed, he actually had a little journal that he would write in, and most of the people that he wrote about were nurses. He didn't really talk about the doctors, so that's who left the biggest impacts. So whenever it was time for me to come to school in America,
that makes sense.
Right, wanting to do a first degree, my mom thought it would be a really good idea for me to try, my hand at nursing, because it was such a significant profession. You get to be in areas of people's most vulnerable states, and you do leave a very lasting impact. And so that was kind of okay, do this as your first degree, and then you can move on forward, because you still have to do a first degree for medical school anyway. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then God just used it to bless me significantly, and I'm still here.
Do you see yourself ever furthering in terms of wanting to go towards medical school?
That is a question that only God can answer.
Yeah.
I know I've kind of dabbled on it a little bit, but currently in this phase of my life, I feel like God has opened a lot of doors that I really do want to explore right now. I feel like medicine is something I can always come back to, but certain opportunities is like in the moment. With being blessed by becoming the most beautiful girl in Nigeria, opening up that platform now, kind of championing a new network for women. So I'm kind of in this space, in this bubble, it's a little tat. This space and bubble that I really feel like I would do a disservice to myself if I didn't explore.
Yeah.
I've seen people's parents
really
go to medical
tap
school.
into it.
Yeah, I've seen people's I have this one friend that her mom went to medical school at 60. I'm just saying it's
super
something
inspiring stories.
Yeah,
you can always do it.
Always do it.
It's not running
the track
anywhere.
record is going to be the same. The track, you just get your courses and you go back if you're really that passionate. So I'm kind of putting it on the back burner because I do feel like it was something medicine was obviously something I was called to do. I just have to figure out if that is within the space of just nursing or furthering that further.
And if it's the right time,
right?
Along God's timing.
God's time. Listen, I don't play with God's time
at all.
If God says yes, it's yes. If He says no, I'm gonna sit my ass down.
And sometimes people will have a vision, oh, I saw myself doing this, but God didn't prophesy that was the season to do it. Maybe later in life, that's the season.
I just want to say something real quick. So it's funny because before I came to the U.S., and some people are going to drag me for this, but it's okay. It's my truth, right?
Hey, please, I beg, don't drag her.
Please. I used to say that I didn't want to even enter into my profession until my first child turned 10.
Wait, hold on.
Listen.
I may be joining them.
Okay.
I may be joining them in this drag.
Listen. So
why?
I just always felt like, I grew up in a family where my mom was very present and I saw what that impact was in my life. And so I was I felt like medicine was a career that was going to take a lot from me and my family.
From you, yeah.
So I didn't want to have to share that with my kids. I wanted my kids to experience me at least till the oldest one got the full experience, and then the younger ones at least they could kind of take care. And then I would kind of commit myself to my work. Yeah. So it's always been like that. So in my mind, I knew that it was a bigger commitment to be committed to work.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to make it haphazard. And so I used to be I didn't want to. And so then I came to America, and the girlies got me on the first day. What are you talking about? And then, then I ended up switching up. But I'm
curious, is that a common thought process in Nigeria? Were there others that shared that sentiment?
I never really mentioned it until I came here. So I don't know. But I think
America's work.
Right, exactly. But back home, it is kind of more family oriented. So that's probably where I got it from. But so I think about that. And when I say that, it's okay, so when I came here, I'm I want to do it young. But really, even when I was growing up, I didn't want to do it young.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe God had already told me the time, and then I was not trying to change the time. So y'all just.
And now you came here, and it's you're essentially molding into becoming a product of your environment when this was never home.
Girl, I think no one could have said it better.
No, the thing is, I feel
you. Hear me.
I hear you.
Hear me. Yeah.
We've chatted about a lot, and you've mentioned seizing the opportunity in the moment in terms of the calling that God has placed on your life, as well as the doors that He's opened for you. So let's talk a little bit about this new era, this new season, this new chapter in terms of this new age.
Right.
You just celebrated a birthday.
I did.
So happy birthday.
Thank you. It's giving 28, 20 great.
Come on. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. I feel like I'm definitely on the path that God wants for me. I was coming into this birthday, I feel like 27 was just a year of growth.
Yeah.
It was so much growth, so much unlearning. We're breaking down a lot of barriers and constraints that I had in my mind, and I really feel like God really transformed me in that moment. So I remember entering to on my actual birthday, I was just filled with so much gratitude. If gratitude was a person, that was it's still me. But on my birthday, it was such it was at the pinnacle of it all. I was so excited. I was so grateful. I feel like God just took me through this reflection, right?
Yeah.
Losing such a strong pillar in your life at such a tender age. I was 15 when my dad passed, and then just to see I've come to America. I've not just come to America. I've conquered the land of America. I've gone back home. I've done so much, and this is within 13 years, and it hasn't been on my power. I've been able to connect with people. I've been able to bless people. People have it's this is so much bigger than me. And so I was so grateful coming into the year. And then just kind of with the vision God has given me with this season, I launched my women's network.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Becoming She Network. And
Who is she?
She is you, she is me.
Ooh! Wait, I want to be she.
Listen,
can I be she?
You're she, girl. So pretty much she's just any woman that believes that she can grow holistically. Like, who wants more? Who's like craving for more and knows that like they want to live their God-given purpose. So God took me through this last 2 years of really self-development and growth, and kind of what I found in that is that you do get to be, I know this is drawn out a little bit, but the Proverbs 31 woman, she is very holistic. You know, she is growing financially, spiritually, physically, mentally, all these areas, and she is wise, right? So that's, you know, so it's all about knowing the time and seasons for things, but does not mean that you cannot grow in all aspects of them. But certain times they are expressed at different points, you know. So I find that as women, sometimes we're caused to neglect a certain aspect of our lives, and like, okay, this is like the season I'm in, so these other things have to kind of die. But that's not how it has to be, because you get to like, if you're intentional in walking with God, he does give you the strength to actually grow in those aspects. It just looks like, okay, right now I'm putting more energy towards this, but that doesn't mean like, okay, just because I'm, you know, for example, focusing on work doesn't mean I don't get to like work out or like do things that make my body, as you know, make my body feel good or feel better. Just I look at, for example, working out as worship to God. I feel like, you know,
because your body's a temple.
It is a temple, so and you're grateful. Exactly. So think about everything that God has given to you and find a way to serve it. That's all that this is. This is just for you to be introspective on yourself and go on a journey of becoming, because we're all in that journey. But when you have the awareness that you are, it really changes something. So yeah, I'm really excited for
the journey of becoming.
The journey of becoming.
Now that I'm glad that you even mentioned that. There's so many things going through my head right now. One thing that shouts out to me, my 26th birthday, because I'm 27, going on 28. So 26th birthday.
It's good over here, girl.
You said what?
It's good over here. I'm just
no, and I'm excited. I'm very excited. I told myself that was the year of my becoming. Ooh. And what I thought, what's crazy is what I thought becoming was, I think I emphasized almost like a level of checklist. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that, and now I'm going to walk into this. And I think God actually said like, nah, it was never about the checklist. Right. It was never about the pride and the ego. Journey. It was about really taking me back and saying, this is what I'm pruning you through, so that you can really blossom into this.
Exactly.
And this is what becoming really means. So I think in that season, it really changed my perspective of what becoming was. So as you're mentioning this, who is she?
Right.
I'm like, oh, like, I think a lot of women, to your point, we do have those moments where sometimes we'll feel like, I've done it all.
Right.
It's now my time for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And God's like, let me actually bring you back real quick. Right. Or like, are you sure you've really learned? Or are you sure you've really grown
in that aspect?
Because you can't skip steps. Like, you have to go through this in order to be prepared for
you cannot skip. You cannot skip. And I love that you like brought that in together, because that's really what it's all about. I think we focus so much on the destination, but the beauty is in the journey.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, think about like even the story of like Jesus.
Yeah.
His journey is what we celebrate the most. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he ended up going back to heaven, but his journey is what we treasure. And I think that is what even transformed and had the most impact on people. So sharing your journey and being able to go on that journey, becoming, and be like very audacious about it, that is where I feel like your true purpose lies, because that is the part that people are able to connect with. It brings you back to earth. You know, like Nigerians, I think it was big for me because like we're so big on like, we're not gonna say anything until we arrive.
Speak in the hero mindset.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, speak when the story's already done.
Right.
When it's done, that's when you speak. But if it's not done,
when God
you're
takes
going
you on a journey that you're done.
Will you be sitting there mute? Hey, will you be mute?
No, but people are.
Yeah. I was. No.
Okay.
No, because I kid you not.
No, for real.
I was. And I think in those moments, what we're doing is we're allowing the fear of the unknown to hold more weight than what
God's
he's
absolutely
capable of. And we're also saying like, the embarrassment that could potentially come if this doesn't come to fruition is greater than the glory.
Let's go. That's it. Mic drop. That is exactly what it is. Right. And so like when you
we're all doing it at some point of our life.
You just want to serve God audaciously. Like, hey, God, if this is what you want, listen, that's what we're going to do.
Let me be bold. Baby bold. Okay.
We're walking it.
I love
like to say
it.
we're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk.
I'm curious, and I think the girlies are also curious, when it comes to your life, how did you dive into content creation? How did you dive into influencing? And how is your current, how would I describe it? How is your current schedule allowing for you to do it? How is your current support system supporting you in that? The community that you're building in it, all of the above. That's what we're going to dive into.
Okay.
First question. How'd you get into content creation?
Okay, first of all, girl, you scared me with that pivot. My heart was like beating.
I'm
like,
what are we gonna talk about?
What are we talking about? Okay, but
I like
I
to
can
make
answer
you a little, stay on your toes.
So how did I get into content creation? Honestly, I feel like I've been a creator all my life.
Yes.
I've loved doing it since I was younger. As much as I can remember, before even social media became a thing, I loved editing videos. I had like my first camera when I was like 9 or 10.
Yep.
So it's like those things that I think what I do now is stuff that I always did as a child.
You've always done it.
I've always done it. Fashion has always been me.
Yep.
You know, like when I was younger, my nickname literally was Agbani Darego.
Come on.
I was wearing heels at 5. So I feel like I'm just expressing myself as like the most authentic. The only thing is there's a camera in front of me, and I love the camera and I love a mirror. It's cute, but I've always loved these. So I feel like that's kind of the journey for me. Kind of started in college. That's when I had my first official YouTube channel. But even prior to that, like when I was in high school, I had like this little like talk show thing with my friend. It was almost like podcast out, but we just did new video.
Okay.
So I started off with like makeup, hair, fashion. What kind of got me in there was because I like being able to do everything for myself. Like I do my own hair. I do like everything today.
Glam squad.
Exactly.
Come on.
One person team.
Yeah.
And just because like
she wears many hats.
I do. But just because of like with time and stuff, and then you know in college you're also broke college student. You ain't got no money to be like getting your hair done all the time. So I learned all these skills, and I just want to teach other people. The
college girlies nowadays, I'm just gonna say they must be going on tour. Eat down the what? Frontals laid. And I'm actually confused because
it was like back here.
Where are y'all going is the question.
I mean, hey, they going on TikTok. But hey, it's been fun. You know, they've had a different experience than we did. And it's crazy because it wasn't like so long ago that we were in college.
It wasn't so long ago. Yeah. I definitely want you to get back on track there, but I'm actually really curious what life is like
as a college student,
as a college student, as a high schooler, right?
Even with ChatGPT,
because the expectations are ChatGPT. I mean, that's a little too clutch.
No,
but I'm saying like the expectations of like I have to show up trying to look like a Jada Waiter,
right?
But you are in high school or you are in college.
True. I think they're almost forced to grow up in like in some sense too. And I don't know, like I mean. We don't have another conversation about it. Real deep conversation. But I feel like just I'm not excited for like what that's gonna create as like future adults. I'm not excited for that. I feel like they're gonna go through fight a lot of battles that they don't have to fight because they were put in a position that, you know, unfortunately they had to grow up way too fast. And there's so much beauty in like the journey, like we say, right?
Microwave success will have you skipping steps.
Skipping a lot of steps. So, I mean, you know, I'm hoping that God has a plan, and I know he does. I'm not hoping. I know he does. So hopefully from this, like, we're going to birth a new generation of people that hopefully, you know, although they did skip those steps, that they're able to recover faster, because I know with skipping steps, it affected us in certain ways, because we also had to grow up in the first real era of the internet. You know, our parents didn't have to do that. Yeah. So it's definitely an experience. But
back to what we were saying with content creation, this is something you've always done.
Yes.
And now you're really just showing up as yourself.
As myself.
And you're continuing to express yourself in that.
Right. And so for me, I just try and waste a balance. I am a very multifaceted individual, and I've always been that way. Again, I feel like I'm going to sound like a broken record saying any of these things. But so now with like balancing life as like a nurse, because I am a full-time nurse, I just batch content create. I think that is a gem that a lot of people hopefully know by now, but if you don't, like, come on, you have to batch content create. You have to manage your time effectively. I think that allows you to really create and, like, again, you know, be consistent, post, and like also helps you like flesh out your ideas. Yep. Because you get to process, plan all those things
and execute all at once instead of bit by bit. Even this,
right?
Like today has actually been a full batch day.
Wow.
Yeah,
I love that. Love that transparency, girl. Look at that. This is how you do it. This is how you succeed.
Real bad. Next question. How do you feel like you are currently cultivating your support system in your community?
I think because I'm very big on community, I feel like a lot of it, like as far as like my personal support system, everyone's always been on board with what I'm doing. Again, I think because this has always been me. It was never a shift. It was never a change. It's like, if people, this is literally, I have friends texting me like all the time, like this, I see this for you. I know this is what you want to do. And so I think I've been very blessed with that, having a close support system, but then also growing like my brothers and sisters on the internet. I have such a loving community.
I love that.
Girl, I don't get no like shady bad comments at all. Everyone's always so nice. And like, you know, I feel so happy when I get to connect with them too. So I feel very grateful because I feel like my purpose in life is to like inspire people in and through God's love, right? So I want to inspire them to fulfill their life's mission, right? And so like I feel like a lot of times when I express myself on my platforms, people feel like they can connect with me, just that they can be bold and audacious to show up as their real selves. And to me, like that has created everything for them to feel comfortable, you know, having me as someone that they look up to or someone that, you know, they feel like is also on this journey with them. And so I'm excited because I just like, I get to come online and be loved, and I get to go out in real life and be loved. You know, it's a win-win.
And we love a win-win.
We love a win-win.
Because not everyone's journey is that. Not everyone's story is that. So it's a beautiful blessing when you get to feel that.
Right.
I think something to take away from what you mentioned is that this has always been you.
Right.
So it's not like you just stumbled into this. This is like, if there was a fly on the wall watching your life, they'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Next question for you. So I feel that a lot of people would assume, and I say this as in others have thought this of me as well.
Okay.
That when you are portrayed in a certain light, when you are beautiful, maybe it's easier for you to date, or maybe it's a little bit more difficult for you to date because you come off like you may be a lot. So I want to know your thoughts, my girl. How is it when it comes to dating as a Christian woman? That's looking like that.
Listen, it's too difficult. I feel like it's not even fun anymore. The fun of it just disappeared out the window. There's just so many different layers to it. First of all, as a Christian, you know, you have your morals and your values that you uphold. And unfortunately, you know, you don't always see that with men. You know, you might connect with a good bunch of females and you guys value the same things with men, and you kind of have that disconnect. So it almost feels like you're going up this upward hill. And then I always say, like, a beautiful woman is to like a well-to-do man or a rich man. You never know why people are around you. You know, I have men that come to approach me just because of, you know, they want a trophy wife, or they like the look of status. Exactly. They like the way that I look on their arm, but no one actually wants to get to know you. No one wants to get to know you. They like the idea of you. They form, and also being on social media, they form a perception of you. And as soon as you don't fit into that, there's rejection. So we actually face rejection a whole lot more than people understand, because people are always putting us in a certain box, or like how they want us to perform or look. And when we don't look like that, then we're chastised for being our true, authentic self. So it's hard. But I'm very excited because I know, like I always say, if I exist, my husband exists. There's no way God put this much time and effort.
One of my friends used to say, I know God is not scraping the bottom of a pan for my man.
No.
Like,
no way. Ain't no way.
He's making me cream of the crop.
Right.
And he's over here scraping the bottom of the pan.
He doesn't work like that. God has put in so much time and effort and love into me. To become the person that I am is not anything by my power. No means at all. When God said, be transformed by renewing of your mind, he has renewed my mind, and he has transformed me into the person that I am. And I genuinely believe that my husband is also going to be on that journey.
Yes,
so,
he is.
you know, it's like,
claim
it in Jesus' name. But it's definitely not as easy as people think. I think you guys should give us more grace. And you know, the other funny thing, this is another side story.
Okay.
As a beautiful girl, people always think someone's talking to you. Well, girl, how are your DMs? How are your DMs? Be honest.
No, the thing is, it's interesting. The DMs are, can you send me the link to the dress? Where do you get your nails done?
You you don't really
the
like.
DMs are
people
really,
are scared to talk to you.
It's the girlies.
It's the girlies in my DMs. And then,
but I've also
and then
noticed
the people that
what we now say what you're gonna say. I was gonna give a comment.
it's the girlies. It's the girls in my DMs, but then the ones that are not the girlies. Come on now, Charlie. It's just some people that yeah.
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 No, you are funny. I'm trying to remember what I was even gonna say. I think perception online is extremely interesting.
It is.
I think that when it comes to the perception online, people do assume that either the person is good or the person is maybe out of their league.
Right.
Which is why I say I'm always better in person. I'm always better in person.
I call it the Luchi experience. You have to experience me in person.
When you feel the energy, you feel the energy. I've always been someone that's better in person.
Right. And people always say that every single time. Like, people, apparently online I don't look friendly.
Wait.
So I'm the most, like, not to toot my own horn, but I'm so down to earth and I'm super friendly sometimes. But yeah, like, genuinely, when people, like you said, I'm so much better in person. The Luchi experience is no, seriously. Like, look at you, you're laughing.
Look at you, you're laughing.
I'm a comedian.
No, but okay, so what I will definitely say is, yeah, you are very different in person than what someone could perceive online.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I want to know.
You're based on what we're discussing. You're better in person.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like, it is a full experience. Right. What you're saying has
What was your
credibility.
Perception of me online though? Just
online, you seemed very polished. I think the best word to use is polished because of pageantry.
Right.
And I think when you're in the limelight of pageantry, there is a perception of you that you have a witty response for everything.
Right. People
you seem calculated.
Yeah.
You seem extremely strategic.
Yeah.
You seem polished. You seem groomed.
I'm a village girl at the end of the day.
No, this one she's actually very bush.
No, seriously, it's actually a problem.
No, I like it though. It's funny.
It's code switch.
It's the code switch. And it's a good thing.
Yes.
Because also, almost like a protection layer, you don't want everyone to see
know. Yeah, 100%.
certain sides of you.
Right.
Because it's a privilege and an honor. Is. Because when I think the thing about being someone that is attractive to the eyes of the beholder, because I didn't want to say like universally attractive, and not someone saying you're not even that cute though. When you are someone that is attractive, people have a certain expectation of you. Absolutely. And once they get to know you, they'll realize like, oh dang, she's really about everything that she says she's about. Right. And this is not a front.
This is not a front. Yeah. I mean, I really genuinely feel like if you get to know me, you'll love me. Like, is this what it is? So if I express that to everybody gonna love me. I can't do it.
That was the part that I was gonna touch on. Okay,
I can't do it.
So I can't do it. I think that it's a good thing to view life and view yourself in terms of quality over quantity. If you want quality experiences, that means you're not going to be for everybody.
Right.
And if you are going to be a person of quality, that means you're going to be more exclusive. Right. So it takes for certain people to really get to know a certain side of you.
Absolutely.
Meaning it's okay for someone to see you and make their prejudged notion. That's not a dictation of you. That's a dictation of them.
It is. Right.
Question for you as we're pivoting. I think the girlies would like to know, what advice would you have for a younger listener that is growing into their becoming?
I would say trust God. That's the biggest part of it. Sometimes you're so excited for what your future may look like that you start getting frazzled like whenever you don't see yourself on that path. But the person that I am today is literally accumulation of everything that I've been through. And when God says in the Bible in Romans 8:28, everything, he literally means everything is working out for your good. So even the bad, the highs, the lows is going to bring you to the point exactly where you believe that God has called you to be. So I think that's my biggest thing. And I know that's one of the hardest things, but if you remember that even all the greats and everyone you look up to has had to trust God, because the journey has never looked like what we envisioned it to. But then when you see us at the end of the day, you find us in a place that you want to be. And so the beauty isn't going through that journey. So trust God.
I love that. The next question that I have for you is what actionable steps do you have for a listener that is interested in getting into pageantry?
Okay, so first I would say, obviously, know who you are. So go on your own journey of knowing who you are, because when you enter into pageantry, you're always going to be put up on a stage for everybody else to condemn, essentially, right? You're going to get more naysayers than you're going to do people that actually support you. So when you're not very secure in who you are, that is something that can affect you, not just in pageantry, but moving forward. I had my fair share of like imposter syndrome when I went in pageantry, and if I didn't have a strong foundation as I did, I don't think I would have made it out the way that I did. And I still genuinely struggled for like a year after that. I was still stuck in that mentality and mindset. So, I want you to make sure that you go on that journey first of understanding who you are and knowing your why. Why do I want to be in pageantry? And I don't think any why is greater than anything else. I think as long as you just know what it is and you can hold on to it. If you want to be in pageantry just because you want to, I don't know, like save children, that you can do that. If you just say, oh, I think this is a really good stepping stone for me to venture into other things I want in life, that's okay too. There's no right answer, but the only person that knows the best answer is you. And so when you can hold on to that answer and be truly authentic in your walk, I feel like you really get like much farther than, as opposed to lying to the world or trying to convince other people of your why. So I would say those are 2 actionable steps for sure.
Oh, I love that. That was good. That was good. Okay, so what would you say is your strategic vision for the remainder of 2024?
So God this year told me to grow women in and of faith, and so with venturing from like leading Bible study to now creating the women's network, I'm very focused this year on just growing women and growing their hearts, but growing their minds, their bodies, their souls, and just pouring back into them everything God has poured into me. So I'll be doing a couple events this year by the grace of God that you guys are all invited to, and hopefully we'll see all the, we'll see everything kind of panning out through the year, but definitely just more so directed at women. What people don't know is I wasn't a girl's girl growing up.
Yeah, you grew up with brothers.
I grew up with brothers, and so that really does change like your perspective on stuff. So I'm really excited. Since God has started like putting this like vision in my mind, He's drawn me closer like to building really strong female connections, and I'm really excited because when we come together,
what a force.
A force. So I'm excited to be a part of the force that God is building for women in the next generation to come.
I'm excited to see it all grow into like your wildest imagination. It's like
Yes.
what you even think that it's supposed to be God's like 10x it.
Listen, I'm excited for that too. I'm really excited. And this is a journey of all the lives that are going to be like impacted and everyone that's going to be able to feel God's presence through this. I'm very excited for that.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, well, this is the portion of the show where I turn all of my guests into main characters. I feel like you guys are main characters in your own stories, and you are going to be the host. So I'm going to give you the cue cards. You get to ask me a question. What question do you have for me, girl?
Okay, so my question for you is, do you have a favorite episode on this season, and why?
Do you have a favorite episode?
You have to pick one. There's no all of them.
I can't. All of them are my children.
Exactly,
no, you ask the parent, who's your favorite child?
We
and
know.
Say, we don't have favorites.
So yeah.
We don't have it.
We don't.
My favorite episode.
It has to be this one.
Oh,
I'm just gonna put you on the spot. It was a trick question, y'all. No, I'm just kidding. No, answer honestly. I won't be hurt.
I have to really think. I think my favorite episode, there's a little bit of a tie. Can I share the tie?
Go ahead.
Okay,
That's fine.
Cool.
I'll let you do that.
Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah.
Grace.
See, I told you guys.
Woman of God.
These guests, they are main characters in their own. They're in their own world. I think the tie has to do with Dee's episode, which was my first guest, and Donnie's episode, which was my second guest.
Aww.
And I do think the reason why they were a tie was because everything was so new to me. So my expectations were not, I couldn't compare it to anything.
Right.
And I think walking in it with that level of just like, this is a blank canvas was truly beautiful to see. But also I felt like because I had nothing to compare it to, I was still in my form. Like, what people don't realize is, like, by me starting the podcast, this was an outlet for me as well. Wow. Like, this was like a therapy session for me.
Wow.
And so I'm finding my voice the more I share, and I bring bold individuals on for them to share. Mm-hmm. They're sharing things straight out the gate that they wouldn't tell someone.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, like, you got me so comfortable. So then in my mind, I'm like, okay, like, if you that bold and this is my platform, why am I hiding anything? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I do think that
they kind of brought you out.
Yeah, they brought me out
like
for
that.
real, and they really helped shape what this is gonna be and what this is, because
okay, Dee and Donnie.
Nah, they did a big one.
That's good. Your first is always very important.
Yeah.
And I feel like you had a really strong first.
Thank you.
Dee is an amazing person. Mm-hmm. So I know that what y'all, and even just listening to, that episode, mm-hmm. it was beautiful. So I'm glad that you picked that one. The next best answer was mine. But
she said the next best.
I meant.
No, I'm glad that this was, in full transparency, you are one of the guests that we had to shoot twice. So that's another transparent moment on camera. Some people don't see the behind the scenes, and sometimes when you do have a vision for what you ideally want, mm-hmm. you are not willing to put out something that's not meeting your expectations.
Yeah.
So I'm appreciative of your flexibility in all of that.
Thank God. I'm excited.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the beauty that I'm realizing. When you're hosting a podcast, when you're hosting any level of a production, you have to be okay with the flexibility, being able to like move and shake, and like things not going the way you initially thought they were going to go, but it's going to turn out better than what you thought, and kind of growing in the moment.
It just goes back to the journey. It's all about the journey. It goes
back to the journey. Exactly.
It's all about the journey.
You got to love the journey.
You got to love the journey.
And if you don't love the journey, I don't know what to tell you. Because none of us have arrived.
Listen, none
of us have arrived.
You think I've arrived?
If you think that I've arrived,
I'm sorry.
Think again.
You gotta think again.
Yeah.
For real.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. The next portion is called Pass the Mic.
Okay.
So the last guest asked you a question, you'll answer it. They didn't know who you were, mm-hmm. and then you get to ask the next guest a question.
Okay.
The question that the previous guest had for you is, as you grow in your niche, how do you feel God has aligned you closer to your purpose?
Oh, wow. I feel like this is a perfect question for me. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, it was kind of unexpected alignment. Like mm-hmm. I kind of shared with like the network that I'm building, and not really being like a girl's girl to transitioning to a girl's girl. So mm-hmm. for me, the biggest part has obviously been that journey and seeing how it's blessed people. And the niche that he has put me in, it wasn't one that I expected to be in. Like I was creating obviously for women, but now I have like this deep inner like drive and connection to like really wanting to see women like thrive and win, and everything that God has poured into me, I want to pour back into them. I think before I was only trying to pour what I had to offer, but now I'm trying to pour not just what I have to offer as a human being, but what God is pouring through me. I'm trying to be a vessel, like a river. I always say, like, when God blesses us, it's not for us, it's for us to be a channel to bless other people. And so I think now I'm very open to having women being blessed by everything that God is pouring into me, and making sure that they win as well, because that's what I'm excited for. I want to see everyone genuinely being the person and living the life that God has called them to be. So I hope that answers the question.
That does answer the question.
Okay.
You did well.
Okay, great.
I love that.
Thank you.
What's your question for the next guest?
Okay. Would you rather be loved or be right? Yeah.
And that's T.
That's T.
Let's see how he or she answers your question.
I'm excited. I'm going to watch that one for sure.
Yeah, definitely watch that one.
I watch all of them. Wink, wink. But no, I definitely will be watching that one.
Funny. Well, Oluchi, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. How can the people stay in contact with you? Where can they keep up with you? What can they expect?
So my personal platform is _Oluchi. I like to keep it short and sweet. You can always find me that on TikTok and Instagram. I'm not really much of an Twitter user. I don't know what that is.
Are you into Threads on IG?
I am on there. It's still gonna be underscore Oluchi, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
It's like linked from your
Yeah, it's linked on there. So just follow me on those platforms, and obviously Becoming She Network. That is gonna be our handle, as well as our website is gonna be launching here in a little bit. I'm really excited for women to really get a lot of value and resources from the event that I'm gonna be hosting soon. So I hope I hope I get to see a lot of beautiful faces there, and
Let's get plugged in.
Let's get plugged in. I like that. But yeah, it was so great being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Love y'all. Bye.